تابوت پر حسن کے پیکاں برس رہے ہیں، تابوت پر حسن کے امت مٹا رہی ہے آثار پنجتن کے، پیکاں برس رہے ہیں، تابوت پر حسن کے بابا کے دل کے ٹکڑے تو نے گنے 72، بابا کے دل کے ٹکڑے تو نے گنے 72، ٹکڑے 1000 ہوں گے قاسم تیرے بدن کے، ٹکڑے 1000 ہوں گے قاسم تیرے بدن کے، زینب پکاری بھائی دل ڈوبتا ہے میرا، زینب پکاری بھائی دل ڈوبتا ہے میرا، اگلو نہ دل کے ٹکڑے صدقے گئی دہن کے، بیت النبی سے ہائے اٹھا ہے پھر جنازہ، بیت النبی سے ہائے اٹھا ہے پھر جنازہ، یثرب کی بستیوں میں جھگڑے ہے پھر دفن کے، پیکاں برس رہے ہیں، تابوت پر حسن کے، 2 بار مل گیا ہے تم کو کفن اے مولا، 2 بار مل گیا ہے تم کو کفن اے مولا، محتاج ہی رہیں گے شبیر تو کفن کے، محتاج ہی رہیں گے شبیر تو کفن کے، زہرا جہاں گری تھی لاشا وہاں نہ جائے زہرا جہاں گری تھی لاشا وہاں نہ جائے پھر زخم کھل نہ جائے زیر کفن حسن کے پیکاں برس رہے ہیں تابوت پر حسن کے قبر حسن پہ اس دم لرزا تھا ایک تاری قبر حسن پہ اس دم لرزا تھا ایک تاری سادات نے دکھائے کچھ نیل جب رسن کے پیکاں برس رہے ہیں تابوت پر حسن کے مولا نثار اپنی شمشیر کیوں اٹھاتے مولا نثار اپنی شمشیر کیوں اٹھاتے جبکہ وہ جانشین تھے پیغمبر امن کے پیکاں برس رہے ہیں تابوت پر حسن کے دو بار مل گیا ہے تم کو کفن اے مولا دو بار مل گیا ہے تم کو کفن اے مولا محتاج ہی رہیں گے شبیر تو کفن کے محتاج ہی رہیں گے شبیر تو کفن کے پیکاں برس رہے ہیں تابوت پر حسن کے پر محمد وآل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our condolences to the Imam of our time and all the mu'mineen on the occasion of the Shahadat of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. The Wessex Jamaat Ladies Committee would like to invite the sisters to Bibi Sakina Day, a sorrowful afternoon program in remembrance of the Hashemites' little princess Sakina. The event will be held on Sunday, the 11th of September 2022, from 2:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. here at the Al Mahdi Center. The event is for ladies and children only. If you haven't filled in the Wessex Health Survey by the Health Committee already, we would really appreciate if you could take 5 minutes of your time to give us a valuable insight into the physical and mental health needs of Wessex Jamaat. The questionnaire is completely anonymous, even to the Health Committee. The more data we have from our community members, the more the Health Committee will be able to gain an in-depth understanding of our community's health needs to tailor future events and programs. The survey link has been circulated by email and WhatsApp. If you need any assistance with completing the survey, please speak to Dr. Ali Maysam Mehdi on the Gens side, or Dr. Alicia Alana Rafiq, or Dr. Masma Huda on the ladies' side. Paper copies of the survey are also available. On this night where we remember Imam Hassan alayhi salam, I'd like to request you all to take this opportunity to donate to the Muharram and Safar Fund, as well as covering the costs associated with the 12 nights of Muharram. Your donations will also help us to run our various Azhar programs, including the Ashra Zainabiyya programs and Arba'in Majalis. Of our target of £22,000, we have currently raised around 80%. Once again, please do consider making a donation using the link that has been circulated by WhatsApp and email, or contact the Treasurer for further information. Please can I request the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha for the marhumin of the sponsors of the Niyaaz for this evening's program, Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha. We are honoured to be hosting Brother Mohammed Habib Mukhtar for the Majlis this evening. We are delighted, Brother Mohammed, that you have accepted our invitation to come to Wessex Jamaat this evening. Can I ask all of the mu'mineen to join me in welcoming Brother Mohammed with the loudest of your salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. In honor of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. For the forage and sake of Shahid al-Zaman, with the loudest of our voices, صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
سورة المباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، واللعنة الدائمة على أعداء الحق والدين. اللهم صل على فاطمة وأبيها وبعدها وبنيها، والسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط به علمك. قال الله الحكيم في القرآن المجيد: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه، فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات الله محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. We've gathered to commemorate the Shahadat anniversary of the first grandchild of the Holy Prophet of Islam, the first son to be born in the household of Imam Ali and Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra, and the first of the two Sayyidai Shabab Ahl al-Jannah, our second Holy Imam, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. And in actual reality, it's impossible to fully describe the rank and the character of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba in words, Because when you dive and delve into the deep ocean of trying to gain a little bit of ma'rifah of the Imam, if you're polite and you're sincere, you'll quickly realize that where the power of our comprehension finishes, that's where the ascension of the Imam begins. And hence we can only hint at the greatness of the holy Imam. And even ziyarat such as Ziyarat Jami'a Kabira, which is magnificent in understanding the actual position of the Imam, a ziyarah which many Maraji and Mujtahideen emphasize on. For example, Ayatollah Sistani says that Ziyarat Jami'a alongside Ziyarat Ashura are amongst the most important, best and authentic ziyarat that we have in terms of the sanad, chain of narrators, and in terms of the matan, the context. Even ziyarat such as Ziyarat Jami'a Kabira are just a hint and a glimpse into the actual reality of the Imam. Because the actual reality of the Imam is beyond comprehension. And hence the Holy Prophet of Islam says to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya Ali, no one has recognized you actually except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I. And no one has recognized me except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you. And no one has recognized Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the right that he can be recognized except I and you. So we can only hint at the greatness of the Imam through a few sentences. So for example, in Dua Adila, a dua which is extremely important, the first half of Dua Adila has important sentences in relation to Tawheed. But when we get to the part where we list the Imams that we have yaqeen and belief in, we say Ba'ad al-Rasul al-Mukhtar, and after the Holy Prophet of Islam, who is the Imam? Aliyun Qabi'ul Kuffar, Imam Ali alayhi salam, who is the subduer of the infidels. But look at how we introduce Imam Hassan alayhi salam. After Amir al-Mu'mineen, وَمِن بَعْدِهِ, and after Amir al-Mu'mineen, who is the Imam? Sayyidu awladih al-Hasan ibn Ali. It's extremely important, get this point. We say that after Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Imam is the Sayyid of the awlad of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Hassan ibn Ali. The chief and the leader of the children of Amir al-Mu'mineen is Imam Hassan alayhi salam. You know what that means? That means he's the leader and the chief and the Imam of Sayyidah Zainab, Kulthum, the chief and the leader of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, the chief and the leader and the Imam of Abu Abdullah himself. Extremely important to understand this. Aghay Qadi rahmatullah alayhi, the teacher of Ayatul al-Bahjah, all of these great urafa that we've heard, Ayatul Abdul Kareem Kashmiri, he has an important statement where he says that all blessings and favors are through the wasila of Abu Abdullah. And the foremost provider of these virtues is the radiant moon, Qamar Bani Hashim. This is the rank of these two individuals. And the Imam of both of these individuals is Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Ayatollah Wahida Khurasani Marsia, which is still alive today, he's about 102 years old, living in the holy city of Qum. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him a longer life. He says that there's not a single prophet, no angel, except that it asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for permission to come and do the ziyarah of Abu Abdullah. And we have this in authentic hadith, that the prophets of God, 124,000 prophets of God, ask permission from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to come and do the ziyarah of Husein. But Ayatollah Wahida Khurasani says that Imam Husein is that Imam who would every Thursday, Laylatul Jum'ah, come to Jannatul Baqi and do the ziyarah of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. This was part of the routine of Abu Abdullah, that every Laylatul Jum'ah, he would come, stand by the grave of Imam Hassan alayhi salam and perform the ziyarah. If a righteous individual just enters into the room right now and he says that I testify that this individual here is a righteous individual, he has merit, pay attention to who he is. It has weight. But imagine not a righteous individual, but a sheikh comes into the room and he says that I testify that this individual here is a righteous individual. He has merit, pay attention to who he is. It has more weight. But imagine not a sheikh, but Ayatollah Sistani comes into the room and he says that I testify that this individual here is a righteous individual. He has merit, pay attention to who he is. The weight is much more. But imagine not Ayatollah Sistani, but the Imam comes into the room and he says that I testify that this individual here is a righteous individual. He has merit, pay attention to who he is. The weight is at the top. But now imagine not the Imam, but the Prophet of God, Mohammed sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, comes into the room and he says that I testify that this individual here is a righteous individual. He has merit, pay attention to who he is. Now the weight is at the top. Now for the Holy Prophet of Islam to say Hasanun minni wa ana min, it just shows what the rank of Imam Hassan alayhi salam is. And this is when Imam Hassan alayhi salam is maximum at the age of 7. Imagine how much light there must be there in the wujood of Imam Hassan alayhi salam for the Prophet to utter these words. And it doesn't just stop there. The hadith says, "Inna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi kana jalisan dhata yawmin." That the Holy Prophet of Islam was one day seated. إِذَا أَقْبَلَ الْحَسَنَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامُ. When Imam Hassan alayhi salam as a child enters into the room. فَلَمَّا رَآهُ. When the eyes of the Holy Prophet of Islam fell on Imam Hassan, بَكَى. He started to cry. ثُمَّ قَالَ. And then he said, إِلَيَّ يَا بُنَيَّ. Come to me, O my son. The hadith says that Imam Hassan alayhi salam comes and sits in the lap of the Holy Prophet of Islam. And then the Holy Prophet of Islam says, وَأَمَّا الْحَسَنُ فَإِنَّهُ إِبْنِي وَوَلَدِي وَمِنِّي. And as for this child, Hassan, he's my son, he's my child, and he's part of me. وَقُرَّةُ عَيْنِي. And he's the coolness of my eye. وَضِيَاءُ قَلْبِي. And he's the light and the lantern of my heart. وَثَمَرَةُ فُؤَادِي. And he's the fruit of my heart. وَسَيِّدَ شَبَابِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ. He's the chief and the leader of the youths of paradise. وَحُجَّةِ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْأُمَّةِ. And he's the proof of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the ummah. أَمْرُهُ أَمْرِي وَقَوْلُهُ قَوْلِي. His order is my order and his word is my word. مَنْ تَبِعَهُ فَإِنَّهُ مِنِّي. Whoever obeys this child of mine, he's one of me. وَمَنْ عَصَاهُ فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي. And whoever disobeys this child of mine, he's not one of me. So we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for granting us such an Imam who supersedes everyone else in every trait of goodness. Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam says, لَوْلَا مُحَمَّدًا صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ وَالْأَوْسِيَاءَ مِنْ وَلْدِهِ. If it wasn't for Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi and the noble successors from his progeny, لَكُنْتُمْ حَيَارَى كَالْبَهَائِمِ. You would have been confused and bewildered like wild beasts. These individuals are the ones who have shown us the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These individuals are the ones who have shown us what actual Tawheed is so that we can reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But how much have I interacted with this Imam of mine? I could be sitting next to someone for a very, very long time. For example, on a flight, 14-hour flight. I'm sitting right next to someone. Physically very, very close. But if I haven't interacted with that individual, I haven't truly tasted closeness with that individual. Similarly, I could claim that I'm sitting in the camp of Imam Hassan alayhi salam my entire life. But if I haven't interacted with the Imam, I haven't truly tasted closeness with him. So we must hear the words of the Imam. We must understand what pleases him. We must understand what upsets him. So that number one, we can get closer to him and as a result get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And number two, we don't make the same mistakes that the people of his time made with the Imam of our time. So we begin this discussion and we ask Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Master, out of all the trials and tribulations that you face in your entire life, what was the one thing that caused you the most pain, the most disappointment, and the most grief? And when we ask this question to Imam Hassan alayhi salam, we naturally exclude three things. We exclude the passing of the Holy Prophet of Islam, we exclude what happened with his mother Zahra, and we exclude what happened with his father Ali al-Murtada. And we ask this question, Master, what was the one thing that caused you the most pain, the most grief, the most disappointment in your whole life? And to answer this question, we need to rewind a little bit and come into the life of Imam Ali alayhi salam and analyze the categories of those individuals who claim to be his followers, his Shia. So number one, we have the supreme category, the top of the top. These were individuals whose hearts were with the Ahlul Bayt. They loved and supported the Ahlul Bayt purely with their tongues and their actions. These were individuals of basira, these were individuals of ma'rifah, these were individuals of sincerity. Individuals like Salman, Miqdad, Abu Dhar, Ammar ibn Yasir, Malik al-Ashtar, Rushayd al-Hajari, Maytham al-Tammar, Kumail, these type of individuals. But were these individuals many? These were very, very few. These individuals were very, very few. The Imams describe this category as هُمُ الْأَقَلُّونَ عَدَدًا الْأَعْلَمُونَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ قَدَرًا وَخَطَرًا. These individuals, when you counted them, they were very, very few. But in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were extremely, extremely great in terms of their worth, in terms of their value. You look at when the news of the martyrdom of Malik al-Ashtar reaches Amir al-Mu'mineen, look at Nahj al-Balagha, look at how he grieves. He says, Malik wa ma Malik. Malik, and what a man Malik was. If Malik had been a mountain, he would have been so tall that no bird would have been able to pass over him, and no horseman would have been able to reach his heights. Imagine being a Shia of that caliber. Imagine being spoken about by the Imam like that. You look at Ammar ibn Yasir, when Ammar was killed in the Battle of Siffin, and the battle finished, Imam Ali alayhi salam was seen to be rushing through the bodies of the dead. And he's rushing, and the people ask him, what are you looking for? He says, I'm looking for my Ammar. Where is my Ammar? I want my Ammar. Imagine being a beloved of the Imam to such an extent. But with these individuals were extremely, extremely few. Was everyone like Malik? Was everyone like Ammar? No. These individuals were very, very few. And one by one, when the likes of Salman, Miqdad, Abu Dhar, Malik al-Ashtar and Ammar, slowly, when these individuals left this world, you can see that Imam Ali alayhi salam was becoming more and more lonely. He was left with individuals who claimed to be his Shia, who claimed to be his followers, but they were attached to this world, detached from the hereafter, and they had no characteristics that the Imams expected of their followers. So we come to the second category. This category consisted of those individuals who loved the Ahlul Bayt, but they didn't really have the courage to stand up for them or defend their cause. They adorned themselves through the Ahlul Bayt, but they had no characteristics that the Imam expected of their followers. And the third category of those individuals who claimed to be the followers of the Ahlul Bayt consisted of those individuals who in one way or another, they attached themselves to the Ahlul Bayt, but only because it suited their political interest, their social interest, and their economic interest. They weren't truly followers of the Ahlul Bayt. In actual reality, they were followers of whoever fulfilled their own interests. It is because of these individuals that we will see later on that Imam Hassan alayhi salam had to sign a peace treaty. When they saw that Imam Husein alayhi salam would achieve political victory, they attached themselves to Imam Husein. But when the political mood changed and they saw that supporting Abu Abdullah would be more dangerous for them, they abandoned the Imam and they went to Bani Umayyah. And when time passed along, Imam Ali was left with these type of individuals. And he was extremely, extremely upset. Near the end of the life of Imam Ali alayhi salam, you can see that he's extremely, extremely upset with those individuals who claim to be his followers. Everywhere he turned, he found individuals claiming to be Shia, claiming to be the followers of the Imam. But because he found them to be children of this world, i.e. individuals who clinged onto this world the way a child clings onto his or her mother, he rejected them. He said, they're not my Shia. My Shia are individuals who are children of the hereafter, who have an inclination towards the hereafter. You look at Nahj al-Balagha, look at how Imam Ali alayhi salam is grieving. He would ascend the pulpit of Kufa and he would say, Mali arakum ashbahan bila arwah wa arwahan bila ashbah. Why is it that I can see you in the forms of bodies without any spirits, and spirits without any bodies? Ayqadan nummama, you're awake, but you're asleep. Shuhudan ghuyyaba, you're present, but you're absent. Nadiratan umya, you're looking at me, but you're blind. Sami'atan summa, you're listening to me, but you're deaf. Ya ashbah al-rijal wa la rijal hulum al-atfal. Look at how Ali alayhi salam using the words. He's saying, oh, people who resemble men, but are not actually men. Your intelligence is that of children. فَيَا عَجَبًا وَاللَّهِ وَعَجَبًا. The Imam says, how strange is the situation. How strange is the situation. يُمِيتُ الْقَلْبِ وَيَجْلِبُ الْهَمْ على اجتماع هؤلاء القوم على باطلهم وتفرقكم عن حقكم. The Imam says, how strange is the situation. My heart sinks and dies to see the unity of those people, meaning the people of Muawiyah, on the falsehood, the unity of those people on the falsehood, and the disunity of you people in the truth. When I tell you to march against them in the summer, you tell me it's too hot, wait for the winter. And when I tell you to march against them in the winter, you tell me it's too cold, wait for the summer. These are just excuses, the Imam says, he says these are just excuses. If you're running away from heat and cold, imagine how you'll be running away from the school. Look at the grief that the Imam has. He says, I wish I had not seen you. I wish I had not known you. You filled my heart with pus and you filled my chest with rage. You've made me drink one mouthful of grief, one after the other. You shattered my counsel by disobeying me, and you left me alone to such an extent that the Quraysh started saying that the son of Abu Talib is brave, but he doesn't know the tactics of war. May Allah curse their fathers. If I don't know the tactics of war, who knows the tactics of war? I rose for battle when I was in my 20s, and here I am standing in my 60s. But look at this next line of the Imam. Look at the Maghribayn. He says, but one who is not obeyed does not have an opinion. La ra'ya liman la yuta'. But one who is not obeyed does not have an opinion. Look at the Maghribayn. He says, people are afraid of the oppression of their rulers, whilst I'm afraid of the oppression of my subjects. I called you openly and secretly, but you didn't respond. I advised you with sincere advice, but you didn't accept. And I pointed out for you points of wisdom, but you turned away from them. I straighten you in the morning, but in the evening you come back to me as curved as the back of a bow. I'd rather take one man of his, meaning the people of Muawiyah, in exchange for 10 of you, because they're united whilst being on the wrong, and you people are disunited whilst being on the truth. The Imam is grieving one after the other. He's grieving and grieving and grieving. And when he's seen that these people are left, when Imam Ali alayhi salam was martyred, these were the same individuals who came and paid allegiance into the hands of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Now we're transitioning into the life of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. There was a minority who was sincere, but the majority were children of this world. And when Imam Hassan alayhi salam started to rule, he's informed that there's an army coming from Syria, from Muawiyah, and he tells everyone, get ready, hurry up, let's get ready, defend your lands, get ready to defend your lands. No one stands up. The Imam is urging them, get up, let's get ready, defend your lands. No one is standing up. Until the minority who was sincere, they stood up and they said, what is wrong with you people? The grandson of the Holy Prophet of Islam is calling you and you're not responding. And slowly an army was formed. Pay attention to these details. An army was formed. An army of 12,000 individuals was formed. The Imam sets, Imam Hassan alayhi salam sets Ubaydullah ibn Abbas as the leader of the army. And he says, you go forward and you reach the enemies whilst I'm forming another army and will join you. When you reach the enemy, face to face, when you reach the enemy, try your best that a war doesn't take place until we join you and then we fight and combat together. Now he goes forward, Ubaydullah ibn Abbas with his 12,000 people go forward, and he reaches face to face with the enemy. And now the enemy see that these individuals are less than us. They're 12,000. The Imam said, and then he sees that the enemy see that these individuals are 12,000. They see they're less, and then they start to attack. The enemy start to attack, and now the battle begins. The whole day the battle is happening, and night time comes. Now they take a break from the battle. The enemy go to their side, and the righteous individuals go to their side. The apparently righteous individuals. And now they bury the bodies of the dead. Those who are wounded are being treated, and other people are taking rest. They're waiting for the night to pass so that the next day they can continue with the battle. And now they're waiting for Fajr time. When the time of Fajr comes, when the prayer time for Fajr comes, naturally the army would pray behind the army leader, who was Ubaydullah ibn Abbas. Now they're looking for Ubaydullah ibn Abbas. They can't find him. They're looking there, they're looking there, they're looking here, and they're looking there. He's nowhere to be seen. And then they find out that in the middle of the night, Ubaydullah ibn Abbas, alongside a few of his close associates, they had left the camp of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and they had gone and joined the army of Muawiyah after being bribed by what Muawiyah offered them. And now upon finding this out, another 4,000 from that army, from that 12,000, leave the army and they join the army of Muawiyah. And now an army which is already low on morale, already low on numbers, they fight on the basis of their morale. Now imagine what the state of their morale is. When they see the army leader going, they see another 4,000 escaping to the enemies. And now Imam Hassan alayhi salam finds out about this. He finds out about how people have deserted him, how their inclination towards the treasuries of Muawiyah has overcome their inclination towards the hereafter. And the Imam says, what can we do now? Imam is ready for battle. The Imam is going for battle. He wanted to fight, but he finds out about this. And on top of that, now Muawiyah sends a letter to Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Sign a peace treaty. It's important, understand these details. Sign a peace treaty. And alongside that letter, he sends other letters that the ex-followers of the Imam had written to Muawiyah, saying that we're going to hand over the Imam to you, we'll hand over Hassan ibn Ali to you, or we'll kill him treacherously. The Imam is seeing the state of his followers. He's saying, look at these individuals can't even be trusted. Now, after seeing the weakness of his followers, and to protect the lives of the minority who are actually on the truth, the Imam says, we have no other option. Now, the best option is to accept a peace treaty. And when Imam signs a peace treaty, he puts down conditions. Conditions like you won't continue to curse Ali ibn Abi Talib. You won't let anyone succeed after you. And one by one, Muawiyah breaks every single one of these conditions. And now pay attention to this. Now when certain individuals, a group amongst the army of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, find out that the Imam has accepted the peace treaty, or he has accepted to sign a peace treaty, they find out about this. And they say that we've come all of this way with the Imam to fight alongside the Imam, With all of this investment, with all of these horses and all of this investment that we've done to fight alongside the Imam so that we can get something from the war booty, and after all of this, there's a peace treaty. They say no, unacceptable. We can't have this. Tariq, you look at Kitab al-Irshad and other Tariq books as well. They come into the tent of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. They plunder and steal everything from the tent of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. They snatch the prayer mat from underneath the feet of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. They take and steal the cloak on the back of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and they steal everything. Now the close Shia, the handful of close Shia, they surround the Imam and they protect the Imam. The Imam exits the tent. He mounts his horse. Now Tariq says that a person by the name of Jarrah, his full name is there, his name is Jarrah, he comes forward and he says, Allahu Akbar. Look at what he's saying. He's saying, Allahu Akbar. And he looks at Imam Hassan alayhi salam, wal ayadu billah, and he says, you have become kafir the way your father had become kafir. And he takes an axe and hits the thigh of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. The Imam is injured. Those close associates of the Imam, they surround Jarrah. Two of the names are also mentioned in Kitab al-Irshad. They gather and they surround Jarrah and they kill him on the spot. Now we analyze what's going on. Look at this is the situation that's happening. Analyze what's going on. There was a group of individuals who were willing to fight alongside the Imam because of hubb al-dunya. They wanted something from the war booty. And when they found out that the war wasn't going ahead, the battle wasn't going to go ahead, they were going to get nothing, they abandoned the Imam. They were willing to fight alongside the Imam because of hubb al-dunya. And now you look at the other group that escaped and went to Muawiyah's camp. Again, after being bribed and seduced by what Muawiyah offered them. They left the Imam because of hubb al-dunya, love for this world. And you see this in the life of Imam Husein alayhi salam. Near the day of Ashur, I don't know if many people know this, Imam Husein alayhi salam has a one-to-one meeting with Umar ibn Sa'ad. He tells all of his companions, you stay behind, two people are enough, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and Ali ibn al-Akbar. They go with the Imam. They go, Umar ibn Sa'ad also comes with two individuals, his son and his servant. The Imam is sitting. He says, Umar, don't do this. The end result of this is hellfire. Don't purchase hellfire for yourself. He looks at the Imam and he says that if I don't fight you, they're going to take my home and my properties. The Imam says, I will give you something better in Hijaz. Don't do this. Then Umar ibn Sa'ad says, if I don't fight you, they're going to harm my wife and my children. The Imam says, I guarantee security and safety for them. Don't do this. He gave excuse upon excuse upon excuse, and the Imam gave answer upon answer upon answer. But the reality was that the smell of the government of Ray had reached his nose, and it made him intoxicated. The Imam stood up and he said that the government of Ray has made you intoxicated. Know that you won't even eat from the wheat of Ray. He looks at the Imam, he scoffs, and he says sarcastically, I'm satisfied with the barley. If I don't eat from the wheat of Ray, I'm satisfied with the barley. The Imam says, you're not with us. Let's go to Abu al-Fadl Abbas and Ali ibn al-Akbar. They return. Now after Karbala, he comes back to Kufa and he says to Ibn Ziyad, I did what I had to do. Give me what you promised me. He says, go. Ibn Ziyad says, go and bring that letter that I told you that I promised you, the government of Ray. He happily brings the letter. Ibn Ziyad in front of him rips it up. He says that you've fought and you've killed the grandson of the Prophet and you want a prize? Get lost. He goes, he exits the palace crying and saying that Husein had told me that I wouldn't even eat from the wheat of Ray. Hubb al-dunya. Sham al-Ghariba, we've heard that individual who comes into the tents and he's crying and he wants to seal the bracelet of a young girl of the Ahlul Bayt. She sees him crying. Why are you crying? Because what I'm doing, he says, because I'm stealing from you. So why are you stealing? You know it's wrong. You're crying. He says, if I don't do it, someone else will do it. Hubb al-dunya. Don't overlook these facts. Understand what's going on. Most of the conversations stop here. We say that these individuals were in love with this world. They had hubb al-dunya. We stop right there. But why were they so in love with this world? Why? Why were they so pulled and attracted towards the love of this world? Why? What was the reason? Our ulama say that the reason is because they could not look beyond the things that were right in front of them. I.e. what? You must seize the moment. يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ هُمْ غَافِلُونَ. These individuals just know the zahir of this world, the outward aspect of this world, and they're completely heedless and oblivious of the hereafter and the inward realities of things. Imam Qadim alayhi salam says, مَثَلُ الدُّنْيَا كَمَثَلِ الْحَيَّةِ. The example in the parable of this world is the example of a snake. مَسُّهَا لَيِّن. When you touch it, it's extremely soft, extremely smooth, extremely gentle. وَفِي جَوْفِهَا السُّمُّ الْقَاتِلُ. But inside it, in its interior, there's a deadly poison. يَحْذَرُهَا الرِّجَالُ ذَوِي الْعُقُولِ. Men of intellect are cautious against it. وَيَهْوِي إِلَيْهِ الصِّبْيَانُ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ. But children extend their arms towards it. Those who extend their arms towards physical dangers, they are physical children. But those who extend their arms towards spiritual dangers, they are spiritual children. And Ayatul Jawadi Amni says something, since the day I heard this, I've never forgotten this. He says that, he questions, how old are you? He asked the question, how old are you? If we say that Abbas, for example, Abbas is 20 years old. Why 20? Because since the day Abbas was born, the earth has gone around the sun for a full cycle 20 times, and hence Abbas is 20 years old. But Ayatul Jawadi Amni says, but that's the age of the earth, or at most that's the age of the body of Abbas. How old is Abbas himself? He's a ruh, he's not a body. How old is Abbas himself? Ayatul Jawadi Amni says that the age of Abbas is how much he's traversed the path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you can have someone who's physically a child, but he could be 100 years old. But you could have someone who's 100 years old, but he's spiritually a child. So we have to understand these things. The Imam wants muwahideen, individuals who have pure tawheed. And tawheed has a direct link with contemplating the butun of things, the inward realities of things. This is what is known as aql. يَحْذَرُهَا الرِّجَالُ ذَوِي الْعُقُولِ. Men of intellect are cautious against it. إِنَّ أَوْلِيَاءَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الَّذِينَ نَظَرُوا إِلَى بَاطِنِ الدُّنْيَا إِذَا نَظَرَ النَّاسِ إِلَى ظَاهِرِهَا. The awliya Allah are those individuals who look at the batin of this world in the same manner that the rest of the people are looking at the zahir of this world. They are understanding what's going on. Besides salawat ala Muhammad. So we have to understand what's going on. The awliya Allah are looking at the batin of this world. So those individuals, they were blinded and they couldn't see the inward realities of things because of the attractions and the distractions of this world. And we have to think and understand and realize that the attractions and the distractions are much more today in Akhir Zaman. Back then they had camels and horses. Today we have brand new cars. Back then they had homes made out of mud. Today we have homes made out of glass and marble and multiple floors, and in each floor there's multiple rooms. Back then they had women who dressed up fully, but the attraction was still there. Today we have women dressing up the way they do today. Back then they would intentionally distract themselves. Today we have the addictive and the distracting nature of social media, TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram. I don't even have these things. The system wants to feed you with what they want, not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. They've reset your whole brain. They made you numb to the small things in life. The small things in life don't matter anymore. You don't find taste in that. This is the situation that we are now. So the thing that caused Imam Hassan alayhi salam the most pain, the most grief, was the same thing that caused Imam Ali alayhi salam the most pain and the most grief, and that was this, that he couldn't find individuals worthy of being a Shia. Everywhere he turned, he found individuals who were children of this world. And we have migrated to different parts of the world. We've gone to different parts of the world and we've set up Jamaats, which is extremely good. And we've called ourselves Shia Ithna Ashari. We've labeled ourselves Shia. But during the process, have we become ghafil of what it actually means to be a Shia? Is it easier to be a Shia? I can call myself a doctor my entire life, but if I don't have the characteristics and the qualifications of a doctor, people are just going to laugh at my claim. What are the characteristics of the Shia? So that we can be amongst the Shia. That is our goal. We want to be amongst the Shia. There's a difference between Muhibb and Shia. A person comes to Imam Hassan alayhi salam and he says, Inni min shi'atikum. I'm one of your Shia. The Imam looks at him and he says, In kunta fi awamirina wa zawajirina muti'an faqad sadaqt. If you're truly obedient to us. Look, the first thing the Imam says, ita'a, pure obedience. He says that if you're truly obedient to us, in all our commands and all our prohibitions, then you're saying the truth. You're one of our Shia. وَإِن كُنْتَ بِخِلَافِ ذَلِكَ. But if that's not the case, فَلَا تَزِدْ فِي ذُنُوبِكَ بِدَعَوَاكِ مَرْتَبَةٍ شَرِيفَةٍ لَسْتَ مِنْ أَهْلِهَا. But if that's not the case, if you're not truly obedient, then don't add to your sins by claiming such a high and dignified position of being a Shia. لا تقل أنا من شيعتكم. Don't say I'm one of your Shia. ولكن قل أنا من مواليكم ومحبيكم ومعادي أعدائكم. Say that I'm one of your lovers, I'm one of your adherents, and I'm an enemy to your enemies. وأنت في خير وإلى خير. And you're in goodness and you're heading towards more goodness. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says that my followers are split into 3 categories. The first category consists of those individuals who earn their respect and honor through associating themselves with us. What the Imam, perhaps what he's trying to say here, is that these individuals themselves are empty, but because they associate themselves with us, they earn their respect and honor through that. We don't want to be amongst this category. He says the second category of those individuals who claim to be our followers are individuals who earn a livelihood, who earn their livelihood through associating themselves with us. And we know such individuals as well, famous individuals today as well, not back then. Today we know individuals who have the audacity to charge 1,000 or 2,000 pounds for Majlis, 20,000 pounds for the whole ashra. Livelihood, and they say that if this isn't paid, we won't recite. We have certain individuals. They earn a livelihood through associating themselves with the Ahlul Bayt. But the Imam says the third category are those individuals who are truly our followers. These individuals work for us. They feel secure when we feel secure. They feel fear when we feel fear. They don't talk in vain. They don't boast. They're not pretentious. No one notices them. The Imam says no one notices them if they're present, and no one inquires about them if they're absent. These individuals are the bright sources of guidance, the Imam says. Imam Ali alayhi salam says to Nawf, "Atadri ya Nawf min shi'ati?" Oh Nawf, do you have any idea who my Shia are? He says, La wallah, I don't, oh my master. The Imam says, Shi'ati, Imam Ali alayhi salam, he's saying, Shi'ati, al-dhubul al-shifa, al-khums al-butun. My Shia are those individuals who are parched and dry lips due to their remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have empty stomachs due to how much they're fasting to control their desires and get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. الَّذِينَ تُعْرَفُ الرَّهْبَانِيَّ فِي وُجُوهِهِمْ. They are those individuals through whose faces you can see asceticism. رُهْبَانٌ بِاللَّيْلِ أَسَدٌ بِالنَّهَارِ. They are worshippers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during the night, and they're like lions during the day. Imam Baqir alayhi salam says, our Shia are none other than those individuals who are consciously wary of their duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they obey Him. They are known solely for their humbleness, for their humility, for their returning of whatever is entrusted in their possessions, and their abundant dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, test our Shia with regards to 3 things. You want to see you're a Shia? See, and the Imam says, test our Shia with regards to these 3 things. Number 1, awaduha, the prayer times. How well they observe them. What are they doing at the time of Dhuhr? Are they continuing to work? Or do they break for Salaat? Do they tell their prayer that I have work to do? Or do they tell their work that I have a prayer to do? What are they doing? The prayer times, how well they observe them. The second is our secrets, the secrets of the Ahlul Bayt, how well they safeguard them from our enemies. Our situation is we don't even know what the secrets of the Ahlul Bayt are, nor do we even know who our enemies are. That's our situation. The third thing, test our Shias with their wealth, how well they're using and utilizing it on their own brothers. A person comes into the presence of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam from very, very far away, and the Imam asks him about the tribe and the brothers that he's left behind. And he starts to praise them and praise them and praise them. He says they're people of integrity, and praising them and praising them. The Imam looks at him and he says, do the rich amongst them visit the poor when they're ill? He says, Qalila, not much. Then the Imam looks at him and he says, do the rich visit the poor at all? He says, Qalila, not much. And then the Imam looks at him and he says, do the rich visit the poor? Do the rich visit the leaders amongst the poor? At this point in time, the man looks at the Imam and he says, Master, you're listing virtues which are hardly present in our people. The Imam then looks at him and he says, well, how are these individuals claiming to be Shia? My Shia have certain characteristics, they have a standard that we expect. Imam Baqir alayhi salam says to Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, Jabir, who's the companion of the Holy Prophet, he's lived in the time of the first, the second, the third, and the fourth Imam, and now he's in the time of Imam Baqir alayhi salam. Imam Baqir alayhi salam says, وَعَلَمْ يَا Jabir, know, O Jabir, that you can't be one of our Shia, not Muhammad. You can't be one of our Shia until your state is like this, that if the whole world gather in one place and together they say that you're a bad person, لم يحزنك ذلك. It won't upset you because your standard is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks of you. And then he says, similarly, if the whole world gather in one place and together they say that you're a good person, لم يسرك ذلك. That won't make you happy because again, your ma'yar is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala thinks of you. And we see this in the lifetime of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. A person comes from Sham, we've all heard this. A person comes from Sham, he's subject to the propaganda that he said about Imam Ali alayhi salam, all the lies and all the falsehood. He comes to Medina from Sham, and then he's told that this is Hassan ibn Ali. This is Hassan, the son of Ali. And now he remembers everything that he's heard about Imam Ali alayhi salam. He comes forward and insult upon insult upon insult, vomiting all of these things that he's heard. The Imam is quiet, he's looking at him. And when he's done, the Imam looks at him and he says that it seems like you're a stranger in this land. If you need a home to stay, you can come and stay with us. If you need some food to eat, you can come eat with us. If you need something to drink, you can come to our home, drink with us. He looks at the akhlaq of the Imam and he completely changes. He says, when he's leaving Medina now, he says, when I came into the city, I was your biggest enemy. But now when I'm leaving, I'm your biggest lover. The Imam repelled evil with goodness. But why? Why can't we do the same? Because the Imam understood something extremely, extremely important. He understood the golden equation. And if you don't take anything from this whole majlis, and you just take this, it's enough. The Imam understood the golden equation, which is this. The person you're angry with is exactly the person you're looking for. The person you're angry with is exactly the person you're looking for. Because that's where your spiritual growth happens. If you encounter everyone who's smooth and completely okay with you, you'll never spiritually grow. But when you encounter all those prayers and worship and days of obedience are to prepare you for that test day. When you encounter someone unpleasant, how do you react? That's your point of spiritual growth. Someone overtakes us on the motorway or he looks at us in a bad way. We say, we'll show him who we are. We start to drive fast and fast and fast. And we say, فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ? The Quran says, where are you going? You're traveling towards your nafs. You need to be traveling towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Imam understood this. But what did they do with this Kareem Imam? This Kareem Ahlul Bayt. What did they do with Imam Hassan alayhi salam? Shaheed Mohsin Durudi, one of our great Shuhada in the recent past, he was a sheikh as well, young sheikh, extremely pure person. During the battle one day, his eyes were injured. So he was transferred to a hospital in Tehran. And when the doctor was doing surgery on his eyes, he suddenly asks the doctor, "Doctor, will I be able to cry again?" The doctor looks at him shocked. "Why do you ask such a question, my child?" He says that the eyes that can't cry for Husein, those eyes are useless for me. I don't want such eyes. What am I going to do with such eyes? If you have eyes, cry for Hassan. Cry for Husein. We cry for Husein, and Husein cried a lot for Hassan. A lot. He cried a lot for Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Let us take our hearts to Medina and have tawajjuh to Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba. That gharib Imam who doesn't even have a shrine above his grave. Abu Abdullah enters into the room of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, and the poison has already been admitted into the body of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. The Imam is turning in complete pain. He's turning from right to left and left to right. The Imam Husayn alayhi salam looks at Abu Abdullah, looks at the state of his brother, and he starts to cry. The one thing that the Ahlul Bayt could not bear was to see tears in the eyes of Husayn. Imam Hassan alayhi salam forgets his own pain, and he looks at Abu Abdullah and he says, "My brother, Ya Abu Abdullah, why are you crying? Why are you grieving? Why are you weeping?" Abu Abdullah looks at Imam Hassan alayhi salam and he says, "I'm weeping for what is happening to you." And then the Imam Hassan alayhi salam says, "Atabki alayya am abki alayk?" Are you crying for me or should I be crying for you? La yawmun ka yawmika ya Abu Abdullah. There is no day like your day, O Abu Abdullah. They will surround you and they will gather around you and they will kill you. They will plunder and steal everything from your tents and they will take the women folk as prisoners. A great scholar was reciting the Masa'ib of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. At night he comes back to his mansion, he comes back to his home and he sees Imam Hassan alayhi salam in his dream. And Imam says to this great alim, and he says, "Oh alim, why don't you recite my most difficult musibah?" The scholar says, "Oh my master, I recite that whenever a man would want peace and tranquility, he would look for it in his own home. If he would be tired out of the outside world, he would want to come back to his own home to find peace and tranquility. But you are that Imam that couldn't even find peace and tranquility within his own home." The Imam says, "This is not my most difficult musibah." The alim says, "Ya master, I recite that you were given such bad poison that pieces of your liver were coming out." The Imam says, "This is not my most difficult musibah." The alim says, "I recite that your janazah was that one janazah out of the janazah of the Ahlul Bayt that exited the home and came back into the home." The Imam says, "This is not my most difficult musibah." The alim says, "Ya master, what is the most difficult musibah that you had?" The Imam says that the city was Medina. In Medina there was a street, and in that street there was a door, and I saw that door being set on fire, and I saw my mother between the door and the nail, and I can't forget this. This is the greatest musibah of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. The Imam is given poison. He's on his deathbed. He's turning from right to left and the left to right like a fish turns after being put out of the sea. The Imam turns towards his family and he says, Kitab al-Irshad. No, not Sharif Qurashi, he says in his book of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. He says that the Imam turns towards his family and he says, "I have been given poison several times before, but this type of poison I've never been given before." And then the Imam starts vomiting pieces of his liver. This poison was so strong that it broke the liver of Imam Hassan alayhi salam into pieces. He's vomiting the pieces of his liver. And then he says to his family, "Take me outside towards the courtyard. I want to look at the kingdom of the heavens." The Imam is brought out on his bed in the courtyard. He looks at the sky and then he says, "Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, I have sacrificed my entire life in anticipation for your reward. And here I am, Ya Allah." The reward that the Imam wanted was more and more proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the book says that the Imam started reciting verses of the Holy Quran. And then he recited supplications, du'as to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Abu Abdullah standing beside his brother. Sayyida Zainab is standing beside her brother. And then slowly, the breaths of the Imam start to fade. His breathing starts to slow. Abu Abdullah is watching. He's watching his brother slowly depart from this world. Sayyida Zainab is watching his brother depart from this world. Abul Fadl al-Abbas is watching his brother depart from this world. And slowly the breath started to fade. And suddenly the breath stopped. And the pure soul of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba departed towards the highest heavens. The calls of Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un started to surround Medina. The companions of the Imam came to his home. And slowly a coffin was formed. The janazah of the Imam was formed. It exited the home. And you all know what happened. It's too difficult to recite. It's too difficult to recite. One Mal'una says, "I will not allow Hassan to be buried next to the Prophet." She comes out. Ibn Abbas says, "One day you come out on a mule, and today you're coming out on a camel. One day you come out on a camel, and today you're coming out on a mule." Our heads haven't risen from shame from the day of Jamal. And slowly, the Imam wanted, Abu Abdullah wanted Imam Hassan alayhi salam to be buried next to the Prophet. And now showers of arrows come onto the body of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. And slowly they come back. Imam Hassan says to his companions, Abul Fadl Abbas, this is not the day for war. You need to wait for Karbala. Look at the patience of Abul Fadl Abbas. The coffin and the janazah is brought back to the home. Abu Abdullah and Sayyidina Zainab stand there, taking out one arrow, one by one. The Shahadat of Imam Hassan alayhi salam was perhaps remembered on multiple occasions in Karbala. When Qasim was trampled by the horses and Abu Abdullah Rasulullah saw the broken pieces of Qasim, he must have remembered Imam Hassan alayhi salam. He says, today these are the broken pieces of the whole body of Qasim. In Medina there were broken pieces of the liver of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. Sayyidah Zainab was on the horse, on the camel after Karbala taking place, her hands tied behind her back, and then she looks towards the Maqtal. She sees a young man standing by the body of a headless body. It's Imam Zainul Abidin. She sees the face of the Imam turn pale and pale and pale. It seemed as if the soul of the Imam would exit his body. Sayyidah Zainab with her hands behind her back makes herself fall off the camel. She rushes towards Imam Zainul Abidin. She consoles the Imam, and then she looks at the broken body of Abu Abdullah, the trampled body of Abu Abdullah, and then she calls out, Ya Muhammad, Ya Rasulullah, Salla alayka maliku sama, Hada Huseinuka murammalun bid-dima, Ya Rasulullah, oh grandfather, the angels send their salutations on you. This is your Husein, trampled on the plains of Karbala in his own blood. And then she must have remembered the Medina. She must have remembered and said to Abu Abdullah, oh Abu Abdullah, oh my dear Husein, you remember it was Medina. Me and you had taken out the arrows from the body of our brother Imam Hassan and Mujtaba. But in Medina my hands were free. Today my hands are tied behind my back. Otherwise I would have sat next to your body and taken out one arrow after another. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. اللهم عجل لوليك الفاجر والعافية والناصر واجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره ومن المستشهدين بين يديه. ماتم حسن ماتم حسين. يا حسين 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 يا حسين. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hassan, 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 Ya Hassan. قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے. قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے. قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے. قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے. جبریل بھی حسن پر جبریل بھی حسن پر آنسو بہا رہا ہے. قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے. قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے. پی کر زہر حسن جب نالے کے روزے پہنچے. پی کر زہر حسن جب نالے کے روزے پہنچے. رو کر کہاں کے نالا بندہ بھی آ رہا ہے. قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے. قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے. حالت حسن کی دیکھی ختم رسول یہ بولے. حالت حسن
حسن کی دیکھی خط میں رسول یہ بولے غربت میں میری بیٹا دل خون بہا رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے حد ہو گئی ظلم کی قاسم تیرے پدر پر حد ہو گئی ظلم کی قاسم تیرے پدر پر پہلے تو زہر کھایا اب تیر کھا رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے لاشیں تھے یہ حسن کی شبیر رو کے بولے لاشیں تھے یہ حسن کی شبیر رو کے بولے بھیا ذرا سنبھلنا وہ تیر آ رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے کربل میں صبر کرنا رو کر حسن یہ بولے کربل میں صبر کرنا رو کر حسن یہ بولے یہ تیر کھا کے قاسم بابا بتا رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے قاسم یہ رو کے بولے بتلائیے چچا جان قاسم یہ رو کے بولے بتلائیے چچا جان واپس جنازہ کیوں یہ بابا کا آ رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے ٹکڑے جگر حسن کے قاسم کے تن کے ٹکڑے ٹکڑے جگر حسن کے قاسم کے تن کے ٹکڑے شبیر کو زمانہ کیا کیا دکھا رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے جبریل بھی حسن پر آنسو بہا رہا ہے جبریل بھی حسن پر آنسو بہا رہا ہے رو کر کہا کہ نانا بندہ بھی آ رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے قاسم کا بابا لوگو دنیا سے جا رہا ہے صلوات محمد
السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين. السلام عليك يا أئمة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين، علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب الأسر والزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسحل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك، وجعلنا من أنصارك وعوانك ومن المستشهدين بين يديك. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك حجة ابن حسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا.